Ricky, tag, you got a tag. Both heels get up, they both charge. Ricky rolls between them to the middle of the ring, dives, makes the tag to Robert out of nowhere. He could have never got that, but he got it. Whoosh! That's what they call a hot tag. An iceberg tag, where all the fingers fall off because of frostbite, is what you see a lot of times on TV these days, where one guy will be laying about this far from his corner and the other guy will be laying about that far from his corner, and they'll both reach up and just tag at the same time. If it's not a surprise, if the people can see that you can physically possibly reach your partner and make a tag, it ain't a hot tag, because it ain't a surprise. They know you're going to do it. As a matter of fact, they're wondering why it took you so long to fucking do it. You're laying right there, you dumb shit. There's people been in car wrecks can do that. So you're a fucking idiot. But if you're over in the neutral corner and there's two guys closing in on you, you got to roll this way, dive that way. Oh shit, he got it. Fuck. Democracy is saved. That's a hot tag. So you build the momentum leading into the hot tag and the comeback like that, and then when they blow, then the guy comes in and makes a comeback, boom, 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 and you go wherever you're going. But if both guys are laying there like this, and they reach up, tag, tag, here comes two new guys. Well, if it's two guys people want to see, they'll cheer. Oh, two new guys in. What the fuck were we doing for the last 15 minutes trying to build this goddamn point up when all of a sudden it's like, tag, tag, yay! Fuck. Sorry.
So,
I digress.
Looking at the pacing of longer matches, it's pretty much building to that payoff and then starting over pretty much and then building to the next payoff.
Yeah, well, you don't really start over. You can keep it going if you've got it going good. But, for example, when you get a set of false heat on one guy, we do this a lot of times, change the thing up. Or if you're in a six-man where you want to have a couple of sets of heat so you can get a couple of comebacks out of it, the false heat, are you familiar with that? False heat, for those of you people out there who have wasted your money on this episode, is if you get one of the baby faces down and you start kicking shit out of him long enough to convince the people he's the one you're getting the heat on. Then you let him make the tag where the other guy has a comeback, and this when people are starting to go, yeah, we're liking this, but boy, this was a short son of a bitch. Boom, you get that guy and you get the real heat on him, and now they don't know where the fuck you're going. And then if you do enough back and forth false finishes in the end, like the Midnight Southern Boys match was great because boom, it looked like we were going to win, then it looked like they were going to win, then it looked like we were going to win, then it looked like they were going to win, and then finally something happens. Then that's when you get them going back and forth, yo-yo, yo-yo, yo-yo. And plus, when you can work in cliche finishes as false finishes, that's good too, because everybody now thinks they're smart, so they know the double backdrop sunset flip routine, or the this finish or that finish. Well, one time, I'm trying to think when it was. Jeez. It was on a Dennis Coralluzzo show. I can't even remember who it was. Candido may have been involved, but at any rate, point being, I came up with a finish for these guys just for fun, where we sat down and thought of 12 finishes that everybody knows, that everybody has seen, and we did them all as false finishes, but none of them worked, and there was 300 and something people there. They were all jumping up and down because they were like, God damn, this is like a greatest hits album of finishes. You know, which one is it going to be? And finally, you know what the finish was? Small package. They were like, because they were just bored. They knew we were fucking with them, but they helped. You know, they said, yeah, fuck with us. We like this. This is great. You just... If they know where the destination is, that doesn't mean they know what route you're going to take. So they know somebody's going to turn, and they know somebody's going to win the title or whatever. All hope is not lost. Just take them on a couple of detours first to convince them that they don't really know everything, and then you can still surprise them. Now, that's not to say, like some of these dumb shits that book shows, you got to have a surprise every show. Well, we've got to have a name superstar as a surprise. They got to pay a guy, and they got to fly him in, and they got to put him up, and they got to bring him out, and they don't advertise him. He's a surprise because the people have come to expect surprises. Dumb shits. A surprise, by its very definition and nature, means something that is unexpected. If they expect a surprise, how can it be a surprise? Heyman, he would do that. He got the people to the point where they had to have a surprise at every ECW arena. Well, fuck. If they expect it, it's not a surprise. You've wasted Book a star, advertise him. People will buy tickets to see him. You will make money. Surprise them with some result of the match. Surprise them with something that happens that they don't expect. But there's another thing about Russo. That fucking prick. Let's just get him in here for a second. He would surprise people by doing shit that was so blatantly nonsensical or unexpected. You know what? I don't expect right now the Royal Canadian Mounted Police to knock on that door and ask me if I've sodomized a moose. That would be totally unexpected. That would be a huge surprise. And would also make no fucking sense. Because I may have done that to a moose if I've been in Canada, but everybody knows I haven't been to Canada. He would do shit just to surprise people that made no sense in the story, and he would lose their viewers. Because it didn't make sense. Look at the pretty monkey. It didn't make sense. So you can't surprise people with shit that just blatantly is off the wall. Well, they'll never expect that for good reason. Because it doesn't make any fucking sense. Sorry.
One last thing about pacing. If you could explain to the viewer out there how guys can build drama on a match by increasing the intensity or the violence or with last-ditch efforts or harder punches as the match goes on.
You know, once again, I know which match you're talking about, and I'll try not to put the Midnight Express over again, but in any kind of match like that, especially if the babyface is going over at the end, which is the best kind of Cinderella story for this to be, but you can do it both ways. But that really gets a babyface over when the heel has done everything to him but crucify him and can't beat him, and the kid keeps fighting, it keeps coming back, or keeps trying to get a tag if it's a tag match, and the heel has got to show more frustration on his face and more frustration in his body language and just be like, what do I got to do to beat this guy? And things have to get a little more vicious, and he has to cheat a little bit more, he has to take a few more shortcuts, has to really dig in harder, because that's building the intensity and building the emotion, the expectations of the people. My God, what is he going to have to do to beat this guy? And it gets the babyface over, it gets the heel over as a kick-ass son of a bitch, but the babyface gets over as a guy who can take an ass whipping and still keep in there, keep fighting. He won't quit. Everybody hates a quitter. There's a definition of a heel. A babyface, a lot of times, can get over just by, even if he's overmatched, if he's good, if he's good enough to do other things that he needs to do. A babyface who is not a top babyface can get over more by losing, but by not quitting and having to practically be, hit with an axe to be beaten, than by winning. That's why everybody's well, geez, you beat the guy. Well, now he's dead. No. A lot of guys get over more by losing than they do by winning. So anyway, in answer to your question, boom, 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 more intensity, more frustration, even if you do win. It still took everything you had to beat that guy. People would probably like to see it again because it was close, could have gone either way. Ali Frazier won, Ali Frazier 2. The reason for the rematch was because it could have gone either way. And when you beat somebody, once again, if it's a world title match and the world champion can't beat somebody, then who the fuck can beat him? So, Jesus Christ. If you've got a guy that, especially a babyface, that you really want to elevate, you put him in a competitive match with a known top guy, top heel, and he takes that heel to the limit, and the heel has to win by the skin of his teeth. You've elevated the babyface instead of saying, okay, we're going to put the babyface over, but the people know he's not quite ready for it, and he wins, and people go, fuck you. Once again, that had to be fake. That was bullshit. He didn't deserve that. Well, now that they know it's all fake anyway, they would say, he didn't deserve that.